My intrusive thoughts used to be so bad that it would ruin my entire day and even days after. But there's a strategy that I implement for myself and I've taught online for a bit that's really helped. And I'm going to teach it to you too in this video. And if you're new here, what's up? My name is Christian. I make content about mental health and social issues, all from a biblical perspective so that we can all heal, grow, and make an impact on the world as Christ intended. So, intrusive thoughts can suck for multiple reasons. And I think sometimes in this culture, we've forgotten that intrusive thoughts are more than just, a passing thought or, a desire to want to dye your hair or something. Dr. Alexander on clevelandclinic.org defines intrusive thoughts to be thoughts, images, or urges that are unwanted but pop into your mind anyway. They're often violent, disturbing, or unnerving in nature. And the difficulty with intrusive thoughts is that they're more than just, like I said, a desire to want to dye your hair or, maybe want to eat an extra cookie or something like that, of how it's been defined a lot of times with social media. Intrusive thoughts are disturbing. They can be violent, they can be sexual, they can be related to religious things, they can be related to death or suicidal thoughts. Intrusive thoughts are disturbing, right? So, and that actually the fact that they are the first thing we want to do with intrusive thoughts, as like I just mentioned, is to tag them as intrusive thoughts. One of the biggest mistakes that I have made, and I know a lot of us do make, is seeing every thought as the same. Oh, that's my thought, that's my thought, that's my thought. We have to tag an intrusive thought as an intrusive thought. And the reason we have to tag it as an intrusive thought is because of the first part of the phrase, intrusive. Intrusive means it does not belong. It has come into a space where it does not belong. An analogy I like to use when explaining how to deal with intrusive thoughts is to imagine your mind as a house. So think about people you live with, or if you live alone, maybe it's like, if you need something fixed and someone comes over, or a friend or a pet, whatever, right? There's people, animals, whatever, that belong in your house and those who do not. Now, imagine right now someone kicks down your door and they start rummaging through your house. They start causing mayhem. You're not going to approach that thought in the same way you would approach it if a friend was to come over or a family member was to be in your house, because they do not belong there, and because they are intrusive by nature. So likewise, with a thought, we need to tag that thought as something that does not belong. And because we tag it as something that does not belong, we need to treat it as something that does not belong as well. And I actually need to hurry up and finish this video because I have a Bible study in literally like 10 minutes. Ephesians 5 verses 11 through 13, it says, "Take no part in unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. For it is shameful to speak of the things that they do in secret. But when anything is exposed by the light, it becomes visible. For anything that becomes visible is light." Right? So we can apply that same principle when it comes to intrusive thoughts. We need to expose them as intrusive thoughts, because if you don't, then that's like having that person who broke into your house continue to destroy your home. And then when we treat each thought as they are, right, whether it be a guest, whether it be a resident, or whether it be an intruder, that intrusive thought, we can then approach them as they are, right? So because it is an intrusive thought, we need to approach it with spiritual weapons. And that leads us into 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 4 through 5, where it says, "For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power from God to destroy strongholds. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God, and take every thought captive to obey Christ." So again, back to that person who broke into your house. If that person came into your house, you wouldn't just be like, you wouldn't entertain that thought, right? You wouldn't entertain that person and be like, "Oh, let me get you some cookies and some milk, let me put some tea on," right? You would maybe yell at that person. You would maybe attack that person if you had to. You would call the authorities, like calling on the name of God, going into prayer. These are things you would do if someone was to break into your house. So we need to apply that same principle when it comes to an intrusive thought. Don't entertain the thought. Don't go back and forth with the thought. Don't debate the thought. You already tagged it as something that does not belong. So you're going to treat it as something that does not belong. So when an intrusive thought comes into your mind, you need to remind yourself, okay, this is an intrusive thought. There's a reason it disturbs me. Because it is not aligned with my values. It is not aligned with who I am. It does not determine who I am, right? It's not part of my identity. There's a reason it disturbs me, right? So once you have that in mind, you can it helps you to actually deal with it, and it doesn't bother you as much. Where it could be disturbing, the thought itself could be disturbing, but it's not disturbing to the point where you start to question whether or not it's who you are. Or for example, if you get a sexual thought and it really disturbs you, the reason it disturbs you because it is not aligned with your values. Or if you get a violent thought, the reason it disturbs you because it is not aligned with your values. And this is something that's really helped me deal with intrusive thoughts. Where if I get a disgusting thought or a violent thought or whatever it is, I'm reminded, wait, that disturbance, right? That reaction I have towards the thought is good because it's a reminder that that is not who I am. So when you're dealing with these thoughts, remind yourself that's not who you are. Remind yourself that that is intrusive, and use scripture to go against them, right? So if you're having a thought about, something violent happening, remind yourself of scripture that gives yourself peace. Remind yourself that you have nothing to fear because you are in the Lord. So whatever the thought is, if it helps, write it down, and then write down a scripture that can go against that thought directly. If you need more help experiencing God's peace in your mind, I created a free devotional called Peace Over Panic that you can find linked in the description or in the pinned comment. If this video was a blessing to you, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more content like this. It really does help the channel. And remember, above all that, you got this because God's got you. Peace out. Anytime I do it with the other hand, it's so awkward. I always do it with my right hand. But then I had to reach over the mic, whatever. I have a Bible study to go to, so I need to wrap it up.